And of course, the news seems to be changing ever so slightly, or every day, it seems like, with what's going on in the courts and how this is all playing out 2311 in Front Row. And of course, we know your name was there with BJ McLeod and all these other owners with the declaration, with the latest documents as of a few days ago at the time of this taping. So I guess from your vantage point, as somebody who does enter cup races from the team ownership aspect, you can just kind of share your perspective on how all this is playing out and what you can share.
For me, all I was really concerned about, we had heard stuff, and I'm just like you guys are. I mean, I'm involved in a sport. We have cars, but basically, I see what Bob Pockrass and those guys, Dustin Long, put out, and that's where I learn it at. It's what comes across on the same channels as everyone else. But we made a call to NASCAR because they were saying that we're going to issue 4 more charters. And so I even called Bob Pockrass to get his opinion. If they were to issue 4 more charters and Front Row and 23XI wins the case, their court and case, that's 6. There's 40 cars. What happens to the open cars? Where do we go? Are we out? If I got to find something else, or do we need, where am I at? So we've called some people at NASCAR and they talked to us, and that was a thought that they really didn't think about, that, okay, we are going to have open cars, in Cup Series. That we will guarantee you. There will be open cars in Cup. That's all we needed to know. I've tried to get charters over the years from different people when they were available. And for one reason or another, you couldn't. I remember we tried to buy the 13 charter from Jermaine before Michael Jordan got it. We were in line. We sent off all sorts of things of declarations of how much money that we had that we could write a check for. And it was substantial, with Rocky Smith behind me. And the guy that was the general manager, I forgot what his name was with Jermaine's, he said, well, this is just bigger than the sport itself and what we're going to do. And it's not based on money. And I'm like, well, I've been racing for 20 some years at that point, maybe 30. And everything's based on money. Now that I have somebody with money, you tell me that money ain't no good. And they signed up Michael Jordan. So, and we had an opportunity to bid on the charter that Bob Jenkins got from the Burger King, the BK charter. And that was when I had first had Rocky come along with me. And he had a little bit of cold feet. You got to write a check for $2 million. He'd only been with me. Chad Fincham as a driver brought Rocky in as a sponsor. And then we got Rocky to come part of the team and help buy some parts and stuff with us. And yeah, he was a little bit timid, and the thing come along. And then what we knew at that point is the auction price was probably going to go pretty high, because they had a second charter that had already been sold to Front Row. And Front Row was going to keep wearing it out because they already owned it. And the only way to make that, and I'd worked for Bob and a lot of the guys at Front Row, and just didn't want to get into a pissing contest with him over something he'd already done bought one time. So we kind of dropped that and didn't really go after it. And then the last one was when Archie St. Hilaire got out. Basically, I guess it was me and BJ, and they kept Joe Falk along as he didn't want to sell his half, but Archie wanted to be out. I went there and told Archie, I said, okay, here's a check. What numbers do I need to fill it out? You just tell me. Whatever I need to put in that, we'll do it. And we'll become partners with Joe Falk. Well, for some reason or another, Joe thought BJ was a better deal, or I don't know, but BJ wound up with the deal and we didn't. So I don't know. I mean, but I still figure out how to race on the open money that we got. And I think you hear, one of the things that I hear with NASCAR and all these guys is, we're not making any money. We don't have any. Well, I think it's just different. All of us racers, even if, anybody that's been in it, if you give me $20,000 to go to a race, I'll figure out how to go to a race for $20,000. If I have that $20,000 and I'm running a late model stock car, I'll spend all of that $20,000 on that late model. If I got $20,000 to spend on an Xfinity car, we'll be kind of shitty when we get to the track with what we have. But I'll spend 20 grand and we'll go race. So if you give Hendrick $2 million a race, they'll spend $2 million a race. If you get them 20,000 a race, they'll find sponsorship money to supplement whatever they need. But every racer that I ever met will spend every dime that he's got to go faster. If it's available, we got to go get it. And I see that being one of the reasons that the big teams say that they don't ever make any money, because they don't ever stop researching and trying to spend more.
So let me ask you this, Carl. With what's going on with 23 and Front Row right now, and them operating as open teams, and you've seen the amount that open teams make compared to charter teams. They are saying that their operations are not sustainable long term as open teams if they don't get a settlement that goes to their favor or win that lawsuit, of course, with NASCAR. What do you think about their position for both those teams? Like how from your vantage point, how much of a struggle is it that they are going through right now of adapting midseason to being open teams when they were just chartered teams a month or so ago?
Well, they both have a lot of resources, and they both are thinking that it's going to come out in their favor at the end. I knew some of the people that worked at 2311, and they was worried that, if Michael lost and what was going to happen. That I was told that Michael Jordan told him, he said, guys, I lost more one night playing blackjack that I'm going to spend all year doing this. So don't worry about it. We're okay. But I ain't heard that from Bob Jenkins. I can tell you that. I worked for Bob for several years, and I think Bob probably still has about 8 cents of the first dime that the Tooth Fairy ever gave him. So, but it is from the best, and I don't know the exact payout of a charter because I'm not part of the charter stuff. But if you do the math, I know what we get paid, and my average 38th place starting position pays, let's just say, in an average of $30,000. And I think that a charter car in the same position will get close to $200,000.
Wow.
So
it's a big jump.
Yeah. And you're guaranteed. And it's just, when you can go tell a sponsor, hey, we're going to the race and you're going to be in it. The worst thing in the world, and I've been on this several times, is a sponsor comes into the race, they're bringing their group of people in, and you miss the race. You miss the race on a Friday, is the race on a Saturday, or it's a huge bunch of, how do I make this up? Where do we make it right at? And, most of the time you took less money than you needed to take anyway, because it was some kind of last minute deal. And then I had one that went on in Indianapolis that these people sued me and cost me more in a court to get the money back because our driver failed to make the race. And I spent more on lawyer fees than what they spent in sponsorship money. So at the end of the day, I lost money and didn't get anything from it. And they still got their advertisement for the race because we were stuck in a gravel pit in practice, and their name got all over the TV. So I do like the fact that, our best racing that we've ever had in our year as a business was during COVID, because we knew during COVID, when we left shop, headed to the racetrack, that we were in the race. We knew 2 or 3 weeks before we could sell sponsors and say, hey, we're going to be in it. We're one of the field. And right now, that's the way it is for Cup. And it worked out. Casey knows that he's teams up with us. There's other teams that Casey could have went to. But, BJ wasn't at the position. He's running Catherine this weekend. He's going to run himself at Talladega. So it didn't really work. And for him, I know a couple of people approached Casey and they wanted twice as much money as what we have to have. And we ran good at Daytona with him, and we proved that we could go fast. So for us, where we are in the points in the last 3 races, we're guaranteed to be in as long as something really unforeseen doesn't happen. And I'm looking forward for Garage 66 to not be at the tail end of the field. So and when we were at Martinsville with Casey, and even at Daytona, he's proven he's still just as sharp, if not sharper than ever. I mean, you cut a right rear tire down in the draft at Daytona and kept it out of the wall. I don't know how he kept it out, but he kept it out of the wall. And we did substantial damage when the right front tire blew out. It took out the crush panel, and that thing kept dragging the tire and cutting the sidewall off until we finally got enough of it cut off. It didn't do the damage. At Martinsville, it only took him about 3 laps, and he was as good as anybody. So I'm looking forward to what we've got going on with it. And we will have another surprise I haven't announced yet at Martinsville, but just have to look forward to it until it's ready to be released. But we'll have something at Martinsville that I think everybody will be tickled about.
I got one more question on this topic, and then if Matt and Dominic have anything else, by all means. Carl, I don't know how you want to answer this, but we ask the tough questions around here, so it's up to you to how you want to go about this. But when you look at that lawsuit, what's going on with 2311 Front Row, and then back to your team as an owner, is there an outcome that you are hoping for or rooting for that would be in the best interest of your team and your organization? How do you view what's going on there and how that potentially affects you guys?
Well, in the I Wish For It program is they have extra charters, and they say, okay, Carl, here, you can have one since you've been trying. Will you come race full time? That would be a good wishful part, because all the charters originally were gave out. But I think now with the dollar amount on it, that is probably not going to be something that happens to us. And no matter what happens, whatever way it goes, favorable for Front Row and 2311 or non-favorable, it has already benefited us as an open team, because now with 6 provisionals, that guarantees them guys to start in a spot. Well, we're not going to outrun 2311 in Front Row. So if they have a car that has a bad race or two, they're all guaranteed in. But if they don't, now teams like the 62 or BJ, or BJ's ahead of us, but the ones that's behind us in the points, they don't have to come to a racetrack and out-qualify me. They've got to come to a racetrack and out-qualify 2311 in Front. They got to be one of the top 4 fastest to make the race. So that's 6 really nice funded cars that they've got to outrun to be in the race before they can pass me in the points. And that's why I don't think you will see more than 40 cars the last 3 races. And if we really get lucky, they'll leave this in place for next year, because a lawsuit won't be settled overnight. And when Daytona comes around, maybe they'll leave that in there, and I'll have a provisional to go to Daytona and be in the 500.